Attacks on freedom, selective cancel culture, thought police. These are all things increasingly coming from the right. Take the Republicans in Florida pushing what equality-oriented critics call a, quote, "don't say gay" bill. This is all happening right now. Just today, a panel in that state's Senate approving this bill. It would attempt to limit the freedom of students or educators to discuss things like what they consider LGBTQ-related topics at school, for example. The bill also does something that DeSantis has continually weaponized that goes back to this idea of thought police or a kind of civil vigilantism. It purports to let parents sue the school if they think this has somehow been violated. If you haven't heard about this, well, it's brand new. This is happening. Florida's a big state. A lot of Americans live there. And today's hearing, I can tell you, was emotional.
So someone says, "Mrs. Fish, why does Johnny have two mommies?" What is the teacher supposed to say?
I started to feel like I was the only person in the world who was like me because I wasn't taught about anyone like me.
Seems like you guys care that it's born and it has a heartbeat, but God forbid it should turn out to be a lesbian or a gay or a trans or a member of that community. You don't care about their heartbeat then, do you?
That's just some of the testimony, as you can see, quite gripping, quite personal. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is pushing this. He's also pushed legislation that tries to restrict the teaching of, for example, factual history about racism and slavery and things that schools teach. Now, these bills have become a broader tool in a Republican culture war. Tennessee Republicans tried a similar, quote, "don't say gay" bill, according to critics. That was about a decade back. So if it's familiar in that sense, this has been tried before. It prompted something interesting at the time we want to show you from actor George Takei, also a big activist. He made a video that went viral that tried to draw attention to the problem and show how students might get around it.
Anytime you need to say the word gay, you can simply say Takei. For example, you could safely proclaim you are a supporter of Takei marriage. If you're in a more festive mood, you can march in a Takei pride parade. Even homophobic slurs don't seem as hurtful if someone says, "That is so Takei."
That's one way to embrace a big issue. I want to say we have a special guest on this right now. This is Florida State Representative Michelle Rayner, who actually made history in 2020 as the first LGBTQ black woman in that state's legislature. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Ari.
Absolutely. There's plenty to talk about in general, including in Florida, and we've covered more than one issue in the state. But we definitely wanted to get your perspective here. What happened today in this hearing? What do you see as the purpose and potential drawbacks of this legislation?
I mean, what happened today in this hearing was appalling. It is probably to say that it was harmful, it doesn't even begin to scratch the surface. This is a part of a slate of bills that the governor has put through as his priorities, that this is a surveillance state. You mentioned this "don't say gay" bill. Then you also have a medical conscience bill where a healthcare provider, if they don't want to treat you if you are transgender. And then you also have this, stop woke bill. This is the slate of bills that the governor has that he wants to message to his base, and he wants to really say that Florida is a free state, but it's only free if you act like him, look like him, and are a Republican, or if you're a cisgender, heterosexual, white Republican man.
Yeah, I hear it. I'm curious about the two sides of this because there are issues in civil rights that overlap and issues that obviously are distinct and nuanced. But one feature we've seen in civil rights, and particularly the backlash against who people want to be with and whatever they want to do it, or how they want to identify, or who they want to have a relationship with. We've definitely seen a common trend here where broadly the public, and especially younger people, embrace equal rights or freedom. You could call it freedom. You get to be who you are and do what you want. And then you see the backlash of these bills. So I just want to put, for example, I think everyone remembers marriage equality has evolved a lot. Plenty of politicians in both parties 20 years ago were on record against it. Now they're being overtaken by the public. It's highest ever, according to Gallup in a recent poll, 70% support for same-sex marriage. How do you contrast some of those broad public gains with what looks like a minoritarian political backlash.
I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, we see that the people on the ground, the people that are here in this state and in the country, I say moral-minded folks, they don't like these bills. There's at no time when I was campaigning, when I have been elected, anyone said, yes, you know, Representative, this is the bill that I want you to file. I want you to file a bill that harms no transgender children. I want you to file a bill that would make same-sex marriage illegal. Or no one is asking about these bills. We have an affordable housing crisis in the state of Florida. We have issues where corporate, businesses are getting, corporate tax breaks at the highest they've ever been. And we have people that are trying to find work. And it's so interesting. We have a federal government. The White House made a statement about this bill. Congress this time last year already dealt with this issue and said that, we're passing the Equality Act. And as you may know, Ari, I'm running for Congress. And so it seems right now that the federal government actually has to be the ones to step in to actually stop some of these harmful bills that the state government, that my state, the state that I love, Florida, is putting forth. And that looks like it will get passed.
Yeah. Well, Representative Rayner, as mentioned, it's a serious topic. I appreciate your leadership on it. I also have to say, there's a shout out here. You managed to work in other local domestic policy issues, which I know matter to you, and your campaign. So, skills. I appreciate you. I think this is your Beat debut. I hope we could see you again.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Appreciate it. And we're going to stay on that story as well.